Morning, people. I thought when I woke up this morning that I should have a positive mental attitude towards this. I gotta get weight off it, it's too heavy, and I hit it with a palm router that I recently obtained, and I've made no real impact other than making a mess because I'm not very good at routering. There isn't much more weight areas that I can. It's just there isn't. I ain't nowhere. I mean, the back end of this is still heavy. I could do with taking some of this wood off on the back, but the front there's nothing left. That side I can't touch it because the awning's going through there. I've taken out some plywood there. I mean, literally, where are we? I've removed this little lot on top of the roof. A fair old weight there, but I mean, it all adds up, doesn't it, at the end of the day? I mean, but we've still got more wood to add, so I'm taking what I took away there, I'm going to be putting back. I've got more wood to add, you see. This was a bad idea from the beginning, this was. Took that post out as best as I could, but the router blew up, literally. I got so hot that poof, and now it's got to go back to Screwfix, who I hope won't give me too much grief. Do you know what? All those little bits there, those bits, the sawdust that I gathered, bearing in mind there's more sawdust still in there, quite a bit actually, but I can't get it all out. I reckon with the panels, I've just weighed it, it came in at 3.5, so I reckon it's 4 pound of weight that's removed. It wasn't even worth the aggravation, was it? I mean, those had to go because I've got to get under there for the screws and bolts. Over here was too heavy, but I need a heavier router. I've got one in the shed, but to be honest with you, I can't be arsed with it. And the router didn't go that well anyway. I ended up having to chisel the rest of it out, literally just hacking it out as much as I could. There's a piece of hardboard going in there anyway, so you know what I mean, whatever, that's kind of my attitude at the moment. I'm getting fed up with this now. It's just like all the other projects, I'm getting peeved off with it all. It's the finance side of it, and when it don't go right, it's really painful, pocket-wise. And I had this all planned out the way I wanted, and thinking this was going to work, but I made the mistake of using too heavy of wood. These battens should have been done out of plywood and thin battens. I should have hollowed them out literally with the thinnest of ply and done it that way. I do believe the B&Q ply is thinner than the stuff at Wickes, so I've saved on weight there, but then I should have got the thin stuff from Wickes to do the thick stuff on here because it was thinner than the thicker stuff, and I hope I'm making sense here, but you know what I mean. I'd have gained almost the same structure in strength but with thinner and lighter wood. But yeah, I've totally messed up here, totally messed thing. I've now found in my mind other ways of doing it which could have been lighter, but that requires more money, and money I haven't got. Starmer, the Stasi Commander hasn't exactly made life easy for anybody in this country at the moment, and now Trump, and I'm pleased for America, especially for the ones who voted him in, that Trump is in power. I like old Trump. You know, I like him. I genuinely do. I didn't want Harris in. I don't even live there. I just felt that life would be worse here with Harris in power over there than what it is with Trump. I think, and this is my honest sincere, I think a leader today, you need an absolute nutcase job to run a large, powerful country like America in order to keep the likes of Putin, China and all the rest of them at bay. Harris just wasn't the person for that. Wasn't scary enough. That's where my feelings is on it, but anyway, we're straying off here. So yeah, now that I've been building this, there are other ways I could have done it. I could have done an aluminium frame. I could have lined the aluminium frame in alloy. I could have made up, like I did with my Transit build, I could have made up loads of panels, but this time a lot thinner than the ones I did before. There's so many things I could have done, but I've done this instead. I didn't know what I was doing when I started. I still don't fully know what I'm doing, but it is coming together slowly. Please don't misunderstand me. This is flaming heavy. That piece and that ring piece, it's not light. We are putting this on a dart as well because we've got to cut the back panel out somewhere. No, that's the front. My mistake. We've got to cut that out here, so we're going to lose a big chunk of wood there. This front panel here, which is already insulated, as we're going to be lining it, we can now remove most of this like we did there and then put hardboard over with material, so we can lose some weight there. There's not much else I can do because I've already done it. I was going to widen those holes, clean them up a bit with a router, but the palm router I bought blew up within about an hour of owning it, so it went back, and I'm not buying another one at 100 quid, so we're going to have to... I will probably get a powerful drill out of the shed and put a router bit in the drill with a bearing and run around that with something similar to that as an idea. So we can do it. There's ways, you know. And then this morning I woke up and I was sort of buzzing through ideas, and I came up with this one. So we've got a piece of 10mm ply. We're going to quite literally cut that down to size. So we're going to duplicate this. So we'll cut the centre out all the way where we need to, so that has a channel to guide through, and then we'll get a thinner piece like this, put that on top, and that will give us the exact height, and that's actually a lower level than the 1-inch stuff I had on there before, which will help a lot. And because it's plywood, if I was to stagger the next layer slightly like that, I can then sand that edge and glass over that a heck of a lot easier than what I would if I had put tall blocks. Excuse me, that might be a delivery, or that might just be a mad dog, I don't know which. No delivery. My dog having a mad fit. What's wrong with you? Huh? What's wrong with you? You're loopy. Yeah, you, loopy. Attention seeking is what he is. That damn limp has come back again. I don't know what the hell's wrong with him. The vets can't find nothing. We're now starting to think that he might be faking it. Will you be quiet? So, yeah, right. So, yeah, we've already said what we're going to do, so I'm going to get on with it. I'll catch up with you in a little while. So I cut 2 out, but I can't stagger them like I was hoping. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to find that fibre stuff I got in the shed and thicken up the resin so I can get round those angles. Otherwise it just isn't going to happen. And what we'll have to do is we'll have to lay it up first and then let it cure, and then we'll have to sand it back carefully and then go over the top and try and join as best as possible, is probably the word to use on that. And then we'll screw these on, but I'll take the screws out again, run some resin in the holes, and then re-screw them down, and then at a later date we'll drill some big holes and run some bolts through, because ideally these need to be bolted on. And then we can rip the whole lot off again and glass all of that up, which I'm not looking forward to doing, because as I said to you before, I don't like doing it. Simple as that, really. So there you go. We're going to have to redo these as well. That's the reason I turned the camera on, actually, because I'll put these on the way they were before. Right, so that's roughly how it would sit, how I was planning it. But you can see it's got a bit of a wobble going on. The wood is not sitting down. It's not the wood, it's this. The wood is, the frame is sitting on that block there. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to turn this around so that block doesn't exist here, because this is lower than the previous one that I did before. I have got 2 blocks up this end representative of what's going on down there in order to keep it level, but it ain't working. I'm also going to have to rethink that as well. The point is that they're meant to be glued. There you go, look, see? If I spin that around, that will sit that lower. The problem is this is going to have to be altered, so I'm going to have to skim through the saw one of these pieces when I come to propping the back up, because this one here needs propping, you see, that one. Although this one has a fixed piece, I riveted these on. They don't need to be there, but I can put 2 brackets on the end of that, screw a thread on that and lock it up with nuts. So, but it's not really going to work. In an ideal world, we're going to have to extend this out to the same length as this, with a piece of steel inside, so we're going to have to drill them out, bolt a piece of steel through, piece of that box down there maybe, and then fix a bracket to the end, fix a bracket to that, so that one fixes to here, this one fixes to the roof. The roof bracket can't be any thicker than that, because again I've got to run this onto this side up the roof. However, what will work really well is if I duplicate this 4 times, this bracket. Okay, those brackets are on, but I've messed up. The roof, there's 2 on the roof, and up here as well, and that's how that little lot sits. However, a bit of a problem now that I've put these in, and I never foresaw this happening, but I left a lip on here. This hole here needs to be cut wider, ideally as close to this edge as possible, and the reason for it is the bracket for the ram is rubbing against that piece of wood that overhangs. Was originally left there, that gap, for the bolt to go through, but I can't line this side up. It's 2 inches wide that end, and it's under 2 inches wide this end, because there's movement in the middle, you see, and I can't flipping well line up. Also, when I measured this up originally, this was nearly 1 inch high, and I've lowered it, as you know, and now this bracket won't fit. But not only that, when I remake the bracket, this corner's going to dig in. So what I'm going to have to do, I didn't want to do it, but I don't look like I have a lot of choice. I'm going to have to chisel a hole out here, chisel a hole out here for this corner to go in, and then I'm going to have to cut a line here and down here, and then entrench that in with fiberglass, so if it rains with the roof up, this whole area can drain without water filling up, which is why I glassed up all of this. When I glass over the top, you see, was planning on putting a router around that to get a nice neat curve, so I could layer and then go in, and then, you know, neat. But and then the water was, well, I've got a glass along here, and I wanted to router this all out so the water could just run straight out. I was going to cut a hole somewhere. That was going to get sealant poured inside it, and possibly even filled, and then glassed over. Right. That should give me some good clearance. Right, in brief, while my wife rants away in the kitchen. What?
You just have at me?
Nothing. I've done the best I can with it, but that was a hard one. I told you about these right angles. Without some kind of filler at the edge, it's difficult. You've got to have radiuses. I used my chop strand mat. I'll show you. I ended up having to make a compound that you would normally use for bridging metalwork type filler, which is what that stuff does. Now, somewhere around here, and I have no idea where it is, there is a tub of powder, and I can't remember what the stuff's called, but it is for making like normal. It's not made to make filler, it's made to make the resin thicker in order to help it get round tighter corners. It stiffens the resin up, which in turn stiffens the product up that you're trying to lay out. but you could use it as filler as well if you really wanted to, but I've got a tub of that somewhere. I have no idea where it is. I've got a horrible feeling it got spilt years ago and it got thrown out, because I did say a long time ago I wasn't going to do no more glass fibring because I hate doing it, and here we are again. Blooming hell. So I've got to sort that area out a little bit more. I'm going to get my Dynafile in there, I think, before I turn this thing over and try and get that a little bit better than it is. It's just it's such a tight space. The brush, the resin being thick as well because of the weather. It's not really going as well as it could. But the rest of it's pretty good. So we're wrapping this up. Tomorrow I'm coming out. I'm going to be doing that wall there, that one over there, and possibly sanding what I've already filled on this side here. So I pre-filled that, so that all needs to be sanded out and smoothed out, ready. Horrible, hate it, hate doing this, hate it. It's not great. I mean, I've got holes everywhere really, and I've locked it in by mistake, so I've got to cut that out and put a little bit of matting in there. I've gone down, so that's ready to cut out. I've got to come up with something, I don't know what yet. Sides have been done. And this time I didn't put thinners with it to thin it out, and it has properly consolidated, whereas before I had a few problems where it didn't, like there. It's quite tragic under there on the previous attempt because I thinned it. This one I did yesterday, sanded, but I've got to build this bit up because even though I raised that piece of wood, I didn't raise that one, so I need to raise that. And I've also done here. We left that bit because we're cutting that out, and here. So the gaps in there didn't go so well, so we've got to get my Dynafile and just clean up the wood. But I was going to do that out the front before I start putting all the framework in. We can make up a mix. I've still got to find that powder. I've got a memory on that now. I think the case broke that the stuff was in. Pretty sure I threw it away. Whether I rebagged it up in another container, I can't say, I don't know. So we'll have to have a look for that because I need it. Right, that's all now until Monday. One way or the other, we're either going to demonstrate proudly or not so proudly how heavy this is, or we're going to demonstrate how damn clumsy we are, because we've now got to take that top piece off and turn it over. And the last time I did that, oh, mate, that was a fair weight. Now I had a look online just out of curiosity what the average weight of a demountable camper van is, and we're talking an average of different brands, and they all come out at around about 800 kilograms. Okay, if I can keep this under 800, I'll be happy, knowing that I'm about at the point of where the average weight is to these things. Am I there now? Am I already there now? I couldn't tell you. I've got no way of measuring the weights on these. I wish I had something, but I haven't. So it's a little bit hit and miss really with everything that I'm doing, bearing in mind what we've got to put inside it as well. The other thing we're going to do today is we're not going to do too much work because the glass fibring, I think, is winding people up. I noticed when that was being built, I was upstairs in the bedroom up there and I was looking out at what I'd built, and I kept noticing he was looking over all the while in the distance, so I think he's a little bit rattled by the smell. There's not a lot I can do about it. The weekdays, as far as I'm concerned, are mine. but as it's weekend and he's now on holiday and that, you know, weekend holiday break, and other people are as well, I think the best thing I can do is just not do anything. The problem we've got is next Friday the weather really changes for the worst. I don't know how much more I can get done. I could really do with getting these glassed up today, but I still got more work to do to that piece as yet as well, because we've got to put a wood strip across like we did on the top of this one, for the rams, for the mechanisms to sit upon. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to quickly turn this over, and this piece here, there, look, we've marked it underneath. I need to run a saw across it, and I need to just carefully cut a trench or a rebate all the way along. And the purpose of that is when I put my aluminium trim across, if I go down that road, I've got a nice flat surface and I ain't got to build it up any more than I need to, and I think on this particular part I will need it. However, on this that I've already built, I am actually thinking about cutting into those and putting some strips of fiberglass all the way along, because we've got to repaint that wall anyway, and this one has also got to be glued and screwed down in position. I've got to push it out top and bottom. I'm actually thinking about glassing them all up and then just touching over with some fresh paint in the summer. I mean, here though is going to be a bit troublesome. There's a hell of a depth, and we're going to have to cut that whole area out in order to get that to match up, and even with trim it's going to be difficult. So I think we're going to glass that and we're going to see what it looks like, and if it looks like it's going to hold, then we'll leave it alone. We won't do no more. We'll just put a wooden connecting trim on the inside out of plywood, and that will be the end of that one. But on the outside, if I can avoid trim, I will avoid it, but I highly doubt I'll be able to. We'll see where we end up. Right, moving on. Remember how we did this? I can't remember.
I think we lifted it off, laid it on the side, lifted it up, and then
swung it back over.
I think then we then just spun it, I think.
Trying to kill me. You're leaving wood lying around, that one tripping over.
I didn't leave it there.
Well, as I'm the oldest, I get to blame who I want. Just be careful, because some of this fiberglass is really sharp. It's mainly on the inside edge. And if you grab it wrong, you might end up peeling it off. Because it's only stuck to the outside of here. Right, so pull it your way. Up. You're going to have to lift it, old mate. No, not the bottom.
I did to the top.
It's caught. Lift the top, right up. Look, come here. No,
Oh, not lifting it.
look. Caught on there. Lift. Lift. Up. That's the one. Right, go on, swing it right out. Is that heavy?
Huh?
Is that heavy?
It's a bit heavy, yeah.
Go on then. Actually, we're going to have to get it out first so we can see it bending. Go on. Right down. Yours got the heavy end, so Come on. That's the one. Lift. Right, so it's got to come my way now, innit?
Yeah, or I can go that way.
No, I'm not f***ing about it like that. It's got to come my way. Hang on. Go on. Stop. Right, I'm lifting. Right. Hang on, I'm just thinking about this. Can we? No.
Right, you're lifting up, yeah?
Yeah, I'm lifting up. Look at me. Right, I say chuck it straight on, but we'll be right back where we were before. Well, the looks of it, we are. We're making a right cock up of this. Right. Gently, because I'll trip over. Come on. Right, push it. Push. Oh, you're too weak. Right, swing out. Wait, hold on. Tip it, don't tip it. Right, swing it round. Right, stop. Lift. Stop. Right. Down. We're going to have to lift it, slide it. Round. Hang on. Yeah. Hang on. Go. Go. Out.
Right, the bottom bit needs pushing
Yeah, the
out.
bottom bit is fucking coming out. Pull your end over.
Right.
Bottom. Pull the bottom one out so it's square.
That's what I'm done.
It's square. That'll do. Right, you're done.
Right.
I'll give you a shout later when it comes to put plastic sheet over it. As you just saw, he didn't like these two items together. I reckon there's about 350 kilogram here, just in those pieces alone, those two pieces. I also reckon there's probably about 250 kilo in the base that I've made out the front. So that's what, 350, 4, 5. We're at 600 already. And I haven't put the walls in yet, nor have I put all the interior. Oh, we're getting close to being over the top. I can take a ton on the back legally. Whether I want to go legally with it or not, in other words, do I really want that on the back? No. Like less weight as possible, who wouldn't? And I was a bit optimistic at the beginning of this because I came to the conclusion that I could build this up at just under 600 kilo in weight. I was a little bit wrong. So, yeah, might even be 400 kilograms sitting here for all I know. I'm basing that on the weight of a Rover V8 engine. I know how heavy they are for two of us to lift. So, both of these together, I reckon are the weight of a Rover V8 engine, maybe a little bit more, 400 max. But to be honest, until I get this off and get it weighed on a weight bridge, I'm never really going to know. If this was an American car this was going on, this wouldn't even be a conversation we'd need to worry about. Or if it was a transit van or something like that, you know. So if I can't put it on the Navara and I get to the point where I don't want to make a trailer up, then I'm afraid to say this will get sold. And I'll have to start again. I don't have any choice. And I will let it go for whatever it make. Probably another loss amongst all the other things I do. But hey, that is life. Right, so the next thing I've got to do is trim these edges. You can see the line I've done on both sides. I think the line is equal-ish. So I need to draw that out, cut that bolt off, cut all the way down to that piece of wood here, trim it back. I might just I might router that. I mean, we could lose that. We don't need it there now. We've got to sand a lot more of this down as well. Do we need that there? We don't really need that there, but there's no real way of getting rid of it. We've got that sitting on it. And that was there just pure and simply to stop everything from bending when we jump on the bed. I did think about cutting some of this out. I mean, we could router out sections and then glass over the top, and the pieces that I leave in the middle they would end up being ribs, which would double the strength up. That would lose a fair bit of weight, but not particularly a lot. It's going to make a great deal of difference. I can't cut these out because there's insulation behind them. We're cutting that bit out, so we're losing a really big chunk there. And we could trim that back a bit. It's all highly complicated, this. There's a lot of maths involved in it, isn't there? A lot of math. Yeah, well, whatever. See what we can do. The other one, I suppose, instead of cutting that back, we could just... No, we can't. We've got to cut that back. I was going to say slope it right up to the edge, but that won't work because the wall line sits here. Right, let's go in the shed and move on. Right, well, I've just cut the first one. That, according to the measurements, is where it needs to sit, if I've measured it correctly. Bearing in mind the wall on that side is bent, I've just got to redraw that, and I've got to cut a screw head off because I can't get the bugger out, and then we'll cut that one. I'm just waiting for the saw to recharge. I've chiselled out the base. I've very crudely cut across to there, which I'll sand back, and then that will be ready for one more last sanding, and then literally Monday we'll cover this if it ain't raining, and then we'll get this thing lifted back around the front, glued and screwed, and then we'll cut the door frame out, and then I might make an extension on the door so I can actually put some flipping hinges on and hang the damn thing. That would be nice. And then we've just got the sides to do. So at that point we'll put the mechanism back on. Excuse me. Put the mechanism back on. Where is it? All that little lot. We'll work out how high that is going to be, and that is what I'm going to make the sides to. Originally I wanted to put the roof back on, but there is no way on this earth they are going to hold that weight on their own. Not a hope in hell. And I might even make the sides slightly smaller. Purpose being, they've got on-off switches in the actual rams, and my thinking on this was is let the end caps roll up a little ahead of those rams. That's going to be purely there to stop it from sliding backwards and forwards because of its design. which is what that was all ever about. And then when the sides hit their maximum, they will automatically shut off, and what I'm hoping is, if I wire it correctly, they will also shut those off. If that fails to work, then I will have to put a couple of reed switches or trigger switches somewhere. In fact, thinking about it, I could really do with some of them door pin switches that the Norfolk Man Cave bloke, they would be ideal. They look really heavy duty and they would make very good cut-off switches. So yeah, I probably won't get my hands on any, but it might pay me leave a message and see how I can do it. But I think he wanted to sell a whole lot as a job lot, which I'm not interested in. But if he was to put some on eBay for argument's sake, I think that would work out rather well. Right, moving on. Okay, best I can do. It's trimmed. Piece of plate can go across there neatly now. We've just got to sand it all back. Might do that tomorrow, might not, I don't know yet. After that we can glass the sides up and the bed space, which is all that flat area there, which is really high up, bit of a nuisance. We'll get round it. We'll probably put a handle on my roller and go with it. Got a lot of screws to cut. Might router out some ply, I don't know yet. See what my mood brings me. Definitely got to sand over these corners here. They've all got to be done. Along that edge as well. Just debating whether to finish this job off in here before we go any further. I don't really know what's best to do on that at the moment, see. I don't have any decent fabrication equipment where I could maybe take some alley and bend that around. Otherwise I'd literally screw that, build a half box and overlap it with angles or something and then glass over the angle top, but leave the inner with sealant around it, and that would probably be enough. But we'll see. We've got to do something with it. I just don't know what yet. And we'll trim that one. So we are almost ready to start glass fibering up. Next week, I would just like to say though, thanks for the likes and shares, if there's any. There is likes, I don't know about shares, but whatever. For what you've given so far, the channel isn't doing very good, is it? Let's be honest about it. The viewings are terrible. I'm a boring old fart to listen to. I know that. I fall asleep when I do the videos upstairs, you know, when I do the editing, so I know how bad they are. I get so tired, so instead of doing them differently, I just sort of do them as a, this is what I've done this week kind of situation. And we've got a lot of low light at the moment, it doesn't help. Music, I can't find any decent music that ain't copyrighted. That's the other issue with it. So with all of those factors, I do struggle, but all the same, the acknowledgements you give me, thank you, I do appreciate it. It's not easy. People think that as a vlogger that's uploading stuff, you've got plenty of money. You haven't. You're very limited, and you're very reliant. If you're going to make it a business, you're very reliant on you guys liking and sharing, but I'm not making it a business. But I would like to get a bigger reach. I would like to get a bigger reach with people. Don't like the nasty comments, I openly admit, but if that's what there is, that's what there is. So I shall just ignore them from now on. They're really not acceptable, so I shan't say anything. I shall leave you, the subscribers, to deal with the nasty lot. Anyway, next week we've got to finish this off as we spoke about. I've also got some sanding discs, cut and slitting discs given to me. A friend of mine reached out and said these are 5 times stronger than your average slitting disc, according to his friend that put him onto them. I think he worked them out at £8 a disc. Wow, I don't know, in my own personal opinion, how £8 a disc is more economical than a £1 disc or even a £1.50 disc. We're going to find out, because I'm going to buy a pack of my regular discs, which I think are DeWalt, and I'm going to put them up against a 8mm thick piece of steel, and I'm going to see how far his discs outlast the DeWalt discs, for example, and we'll come back to that. We'll do a measurement. He wants to know, I want to know, so I can work out how many inches of a disc gets worn down, and we'll get back to that one. So that'll be an interesting video to watch. And at some point I want to get some tools built, so I want to get that done at some point. My bandsaw, because the wife was going to get me a new bandsaw for Christmas until we saw the prices of them, 500 quid for a 14-inch. I have a bandsaw. The very first day I bought this, over 10 years ago, I broke it. It fell over in the trailer and it broke, and it's only been used a couple of times. The rubber belt that you get top and bottom has fell off, but I have found that you can buy them. But not that only that, the clamp unit underneath has broke as well. So I've got to make my mind up. What do I want to do with this thing? Do I want the tabletop to tilt? Do I need it to tilt? I'm kind of asking myself this question. So I'm going to be looking at trying to get that repaired one way or the other. I may just have it so it's just a straight flat unit. And we've got something else I want to get fixed up as well, which is on the floor somewhere. No, it isn't. It's on the bench. There it is, the lathe. This beautiful old girl, which I originally bought, which I did originally buy to sell, literally, but the prices have come down on them now, and it's not worth the aggravation of selling. But what it is worth to me is fixing up and putting in my little outhouse. And we've got an old sewing machine motor, a commercial sewing machine motor and tabletop. So I'm thinking about clearing a space out over there and sticking it there maybe, or, and I don't know where in this mess, putting it in here, because when we start the Vegas trike build, I think I'm going to need that. I think I'm going to really need it. So it's got a 3-phase motor on at the moment, and a lot of the threads are broken anyway. So I think we'll, at some point I'm going to do that. I think when we get a week where I can't do nothing on anything, I will start that bandsaw, probably move on to the lathe, and this being the biggest headache of the whole lot, move on to this, because we need something that can cut large diameters of wood. The little table saw I bought is doing a fabulous job, if I'm honest, in what I need it to do. I don't really know if I need this, but I haven't put large chunks of oak through, which is kind of why I've been crying about getting myself a more commercial ability to cut wood, because these little things like that Evolution was not, unless the blade was brand new, it wasn't very good at cutting solid oak, if I'm honest. Struggled. So I want to get that built up with a 10-inch blade or 12-inch blade, I can't remember which. I think it was a 10-inch, and we'll do that at some point around about soon. I think it will be the best way